So, apart from Robot of Sherwood, the other Series 8 episode that I felt the need to rewatch for a personal favourites marathon was Series 8, Episode 5, Time Heist. Why do I love this episode? Well, let's get into it. This episode was first broadcast on the 20th of September 2014. The Doctor, played by Peter Capaldi, and Clara, played by Jenna Coleman, they're seemingly just trying to go about their day, the Doctor planning another adventure, and Clara preparing for her next date with Danny Pink, when they suddenly receive a phone call. And seemingly seconds after receiving that phone call, they are sitting in a darkened room with two people who they seemingly don't know. Sai, a computer hacker played by Jonathan Bailey, and Sabra, a mutant human played by Pippa Bennett Warner. They are then broadcast a message from someone called the Architect, informing them that they have agreed to undertake a heist, a job to rob the most secure bank in the universe, the Bank of Carabraxos. And the head of the bank is the sinister Miss Delphox, played by Keely Hawes. But that's not the most dangerous thing. She also has one of the most dangerous things in the entire universe, the Teller. The latest thing in sniffer dogs. This creature can sense and detect guilt. And then once Miss Delphox lets it off the reins, it can essentially crush a person's brain, turning their mind to soup. Now, why do I love this episode so much? Well, I think for me this was the episode that made me finally see Peter Capaldi as the Doctor. I mean, here's the thing about each of the actors who play the Doctor. They may have a critical scene in their first few episodes that makes the audience think, oh yeah, they're the Doctor. For example, David Tennant, it was probably him emerging from the TARDIS on board the Sycorax ship. With Matt Smith, it was his big speech to the Atraxi. With Jodie Whittaker, it was her moment facing down Sim Shaw atop the crane. But the point remains, while they may have a moment in their first episode that shows off they are the Doctor, and Peter Capaldi probably had one too in Deep Breath when he pulled off the mask, it usually takes me usually about 4 or 5 episodes into their series before I can truly see them as the Doctor. I mean, it's happened before with the other Doctors. I mean, I think with David Tennant, while he did have a few great moments, I think the episode that I remember first of all seeing him as the Doctor was around about episode 5 of Series 2, Rise of the Cybermen, kind of around that area. With Matt Smith, it was probably the end of The Time of Angels, and with Jodie Whittaker, it was probably around Arachnids in the UK. So, you know what, around 4 or 5 episodes before I'm fully comfortable with him as the Doctor. And with Peter Capaldi, it was here that I mean, his first few episodes, I like them. I mean, as I admit, one of my other personal favourites from this series was Robot of Sherwood, which was okay, only his third episode, but this was, I think, the point when I was like, oh yeah, I feel comfortable with him as the Doctor. Just his speech to them in the deposit room, when he's trying to say to them, picture the thing you want most in the universe, and decide how badly you want it. You can almost cut the tension there with a knife. And everyone in the cast acts their absolute heart out with this. I mean, you've got Peter Capaldi and Jenna Coleman in there, but Jonathan Bailey just looks like he's having a great time while doing it. Pippa Bennett Warner does a great job as Sabra, and the last member of the heist is a man who he simply isn't named in the episode, but apparently his name's Mr. Poromer. He's played by Trevor Sellers, and his main role in the heist is to provide some DNA that Sabra can use in order to get into the safety deposit boxes. To which Sai is a computer-augmented human, which allows him to plug into nearby areas and bring up schematic plans and the like, and Sabra is a mutant human with the ability to change her entire appearance, allowing her to mimic people, such as I mentioned, she mimics Mr. Poromer, and later on in the heist she ends up mimicking one of the guards in order to get them past. But then we come to the big kind of villain of the episode, Miss Delphox, or as we find out later, she's actually a clone of Madame Carabraxos. And as I said, Keely Hawes she is brilliant in this episode in that she commands so much respect when entering a room. You can almost feel the icy chill coming off her, and the teller itself, the teller to me is kind of like a cross between, well, for me at least, a minotaur and a slug, at least in terms of its appearance. So which you got its kind of grunting moans, but then its kind of eyes moving about like that and antennae similar to a slug, which apparently, if you look at the kind of back behind the scenes stuff, this was a creature that when they first brought it onto the set, most of the cast were actually legitimate in their reactions because they thought it looked really lifelike and really kind of real, even though they knew it wasn't. And similar to Robot of Sherwood, Time Heist just has a load of fun elements to it. I mean, you've got some great back and forth going on between our foursome with Saber and Sai even admitting that their gifts or their abilities aren't exactly greatest thing either, with Saber admitting that one downside to her ability to shapeshift is that anyone she touches, she'll end up looking like them. And as she said, how can you trust anyone if they look back at you out of your own eyes? And Sai admitting that he'd had to erase his memories of his friends and family in order to keep them safe. Which kind of is a nice touch to it. I mean, you could have gone the whole episode saying that these two are bank robbers full time and that this is just part of the job, but these two actually feel some legitimate stuff. Like, they show what it's like to feel almost entirely alone. And get both sides of it. The one who feels almost constantly alone and the one who's had to adapt to it fairly quickly. So that plus the look of this episode is absolutely grand with areas of gold, especially when they reach the private vault. And for a planet that's supposed to be the most secure bank in the universe, you can believe that it is a pretty secure bank. I mean, obviously, it ends up being not that secure in the fact they managed to break into it. But then they do manage to do some great stuff with it. I mean, this is an episode that manages to do some scary stuff with the bank, but as well manages to make it quite thrilling. And while I admit I haven't seen that many heist movies, I feel Doctor Who does heist movies here. This is a pretty good parody. So, you know what? Time Heist. It's one of my favourites from Series 8, one of my two favourites from there, and you know what? I don't regret it. I love Time Heist. But anyway, the next randomly generated number on my personal favourites marathon go forward was the number 9, which, okay, go from 8 to 9. And the one I'll be reviewing for that is The Magician's Apprentice and The Witch's Familiar. What do I think of those? Well, you just have to wait and see. Anyway, until then, see ya.